Today on the Extreme channel, I have my second ever JND Studios statue. My first, if you recall, was this Wonder Woman, and I kind of bought that on a whim and was a little worried. Well, recently, I did this video here of my favorite statues that have arrived in 2022, and Wonder Woman was actually number one. Now, when this JND Studio Catwoman was revealed, I jumped on the train, but then I saw some production photos. I was like, you know what? I'm not sure if it's going to be good. But then I got to thinking, hey, Wonder Woman looks way better in person and is one of my favorite statues. So, you know what? Go ahead and keep your order, and when it comes in, we'll see if you were right. So today, we're going to find out if I was right. As a disclaimer, I wasn't. But that's kind of natural reflex. You know, I'm married. I'm never right. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, my name is Mr. X, and today we're looking at a very high-end collectible. This is by JND Studios. It's a 1/3 scale version of Catwoman, or Selina Kyle, as she was portrayed in The Dark Knight Rises, the Batman film by Christopher Nolan. Whew! So today we're going to do a review of this statue, and there's a little bit of controversy around this statue, or maybe speculation is the better word, because JND seems to be like a hit and miss studio to a lot of people. Now that opens a big can of worms, because are people saying that some of their products aren't as good just because they can't attain them or they can't afford them? I don't know, I'm sure that's part of it, because this is the second piece I've seen from them in person, and just like that first piece, the Wonder Woman I was talking about, as a spoiler, it is really, really good. I am really impressed with it. But there's a lot of people that have some hate towards some of their statues. And like I said, people kind of see what they want to see. So who knows? But as a spoiler, before we get into the review, I think this is the best Anne Hathaway Selina Kyle statue out there. It is phenomenally done on so many levels. It looks like they really took that actress in her Catwoman costume, shrunk her down 3 times, and put her here on my table. Now, it's not without its faults, of course, but I am very impressed and overall very happy with the purchase, despite the fact the heavy price tag it was. And we're going to talk about all that. In concept, we're going to do close-ups of the portraits, talk about the different switch-out options. So let's kick it off. As we usually do, we talk about concept. And that is, does it follow the storyline well? Is the likeness there? Does it look cool? Now, JND, all their 1/3 scale DC movie pieces have this museum-style base. Now, when they first came out with them, they were very boring. However, they've done a little bit something different. So they have the black outline, but then they're trying to do the top layer something attributing to the movie. And if you recall, the streets of Gotham did have snow on it. And here you even see I have a Batman cowl, which doesn't have to be displayed there. We're going to talk about it. So I like that they're mixing it up, almost a little bit of an environmental aspect to the museum style base. And on the front, you notice it does say the movie title. I don't like that, but for a museum style piece, I think it's okay. So when I say museum style, it's because she's in a museum style pose. It's kind of like she's posing for a picture. Like she knew that they were going to take this. She is in her Catwoman costume that we see through a large portion of the movie. Now, what I really liked about this is it wasn't a corny Catwoman costume. It was very realistic to an extent. It wasn't as realistic as the new Robert Pattinson Catwoman that Zoe Kravitz played. That was just a normal outfit. But it looks really good. The detail is phenomenal. Depending on which switch-out options you look at, here she's brandishing a gun. And she used that multiple times in the movie, so that's good. And as you move up, she's very smug, which also is kind of her character. She was very smug, but what I really like is you move up towards the portrait, her expression is almost emotionless. But as you look at it closer, it almost looks sad, which she was very sad throughout a large part of the movie. She really didn't understand where she was in her life. I like that. And as we look at the close-ups during the paint and sculpt, you're going to see that not only is the likeness really, really good, few angles it's a little bit off, but you're also going to see that expression I'm talking to you about. So I love the concept. While I am not a huge fan of museum bases or museum poses in general, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It's done really well, and it follows the rest of the line, which is fantastic, because they recently revealed this piece right here. And then, of course, they've done a Heath Ledger Joker, and I suspect they may do Bane as well. We'll find out. If they did a Ra's al Ghul with Liam Neeson, I would probably buy that for sure. Now let's talk about the design. Their packaging is always top-notch. They give you a few different display options on this, which is typically not something they do. Check out the unboxing and assembly. All of their boxes are pretty manageable in size, which is nice. Here is the top of the box. A little bit of an art box, nothing crazy. Now they always have a COA. It's not paper, it's not metal, it's kind of a mix in between. So it has straps and white foam, which as you see wasn't enough to secure it. The head's actually off. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. That was the first layer, and then here is the second layer, which contained the base upside down. Peanut butter and jelly beer. So, kind of obvious, you saw it in the box, the head was actually broken off, and I didn't know that until I was assembling it, if you watched that assembly video. So I did use some glue, it's fine, I hope, fingers crossed. But yeah, the head's not supposed to come off. I learned that with humans as well early on in my life. Alright, let's measure her. So the base, I'm suspecting, is the same size as the others. Yeah, it's 12 by 12. And then the tallest part with her glasses up is about 27.5 inches. So without the goggles or whatever it is on our portrait that we'll talk about in a little bit, she's probably just under 27 inches. Now there's a few different display options. So first, the right hand can be brandishing the gun. This is what I plan on displaying. Or it can be holding her goggles because they're actually removable. Or holding the cowl. Or you can do with the cowl what I've done is put it at the base, because I'd like to display that as well. So here's a quick picture of her portrait, and again, we're going to look at it close during Paint and Sculpt on video. And then here it is with her goggles on, over her mask. And then here's a picture with her mask and her goggles rolled back to give her the cat ear effect. Now those goggles are actual goggles. They're like miniaturized real-life versions. So you actually flip it up and flip it down. So I think that's pretty cool. Her hair obviously is a little bit of a mess, as you saw and you'll see during the close-up video. But so is mine. I mean, I'm not one who knows how to style hair at all. Because it is real hair and it is silicone. Medical grade silicone. So it does have like a rubbery effect on the skin. So I think the design options are cool. I'm glad they gave something different. One thing I don't like is because they put this on the front, you have to assume this is the front. So it's kind of like that has to be the front. I kind of like it displayed a little bit like this, where you see more of her body, but then again, this is offset. So I think that's a negative for sure. So it's not a perfect design, but I do give it a 4 out of 5. Now, one unique thing, if you saw me putting it together, her thumbs right here on this hand for both display options, they are removable. And there's not too bad of a seam line because it's black, but check it out right here. So I think that's a little bit of a negative, but because it's black, you don't really see it as much. All right, so now probably what you've been waiting for. Let's take some video of the paint and sculpt and see how good it is. As usual, base is incredibly clean. Well, mine's not. It needs to be dusted a little bit, but you know what I mean. The paint is fantastic. I like that shiny gloss they use. One thing I liked here is how the Dark Knight is protruding, and then you have kind of a smash bat symbol behind it. I think that's a cool Easter egg. Again, it makes the base less boring, but this environmental top makes it look even better. So you have cracked streets, concrete of Gotham, and I think that looks really good. They textured it just the right amount, and then the snow effect is great, and it doesn't rub off. I'm sure it would if you tried, but that is really impressive. So it's a great looking I almost said snowflake because I talk about them so much. But here you have the bat cowl. I think this looks good too. It's just a resin, but they did a nice job. What you're gonna find is it looks like a lot of this is mixed media, but it's not. It's fully sculpted, and that's where it's phenomenally done. Starting with her boots, the shiny heels. I assume that's screen accurate. I didn't really watch that part of the movie, but throughout these thigh-high boots, I love the folds. It gives this sense of realism too. There's like a leathery texture to it, which makes it look really good. Even look at the zipper here and look at that. That is really well done. Lots of cool detail on here. Then she has almost this square patternized texture on her the rest of her suit. Now, one thing as we move up, look at the anatomy. I mean, I think this is very realistic to Anne Hathaway. I like that it's not your typical Barbie doll slim. I mean, she has certain curves in certain areas. And even like her breasts are a little bit uneven. So I think there's a lot of realism to this, which is fantastic. There's the ass shot for those that want it. Her belt, I think, could have been a little bit better on the back, but never going to see that. You know, Brighton Studios is fantastic with pouches and belts. This looks good. And I think it flows with the rest of the costume because it has such a mixed media feel to it. And then her gloves, a lot of the same comments about her boots. How bunched up it is really gives you that realism and almost makes you feel like it's actual material and cloth. Now, in between that texturized pattern, you see kind of the detail here. Some of her hairs are still kind of flying everywhere. Looks really well done. Here's the zipper up here again, fully sculpted. Doesn't move, even though you think it would. Here's the pistol really quick. Looks fine. Could have looked a little bit better. Now, regarding her portrait, we're just going to look at the goggles really quick, and then I'm going to take them off and we can look at the full portrait. But these look great. A lot of detail in them as well. Different layering. And then you already saw, I'm not going to move those down, but they're, like I said, they're kind of miniaturized versions. But looks great. Fit on really well, really easy. Her hair in the way was kind of the biggest issue with that. So let's take a look at just her portrait. All right, so now let's look at the unmasked portrait. You know, I went back and watched the film just to, I rarely do that, but I wanted to see. Now, her lips are pretty pouty, but they are also in the film as well. There's a lot of different scenes, and you got to remember it's a pretty dark movie, and I have spotlights on here. I think the likeness in person, and I don't know if it's picking up on camera, is much better than I've seen in pictures. I think they did an amazing job. Obviously, the silicone skin looks fantastic. Again, the coloring is kind of difficult because it was so dark in the movie. They did a really good job with the hair. Mine's still a little messy, but obviously real hair there. And then the eyes look fantastic. I mean, look at that. That is just really, really amazing. It looks like she's looking at you. Very reminiscent of Wonder Woman. The nose may be a little bit off, maybe 90%. And I think the lips are about 90, 95%. But quite a few scenes, especially the ones where she was dressed up for the party and whatnot. So I think they did a really good job with this likeness. It's just like the Wonder Woman, really in pictures and video even, it doesn't do it a justice. But I would say the likeness is 95+% on this, if not higher. Really well done, and I think I'm happy with the assumption I made. Regarding the paint, I think nothing's wrong with it. I've never said perfect paint, and I'm hesitant to say that, but maybe the lip's a little bit too red. It's a 5 out of 5 on the paint, for sure. It may not be perfect, but it's damn near close. Sculpt, like we talked about, I love how realistic this is, and I think that's definitely a huge thing. You know, sculpted material that looks real, and then, I'm sorry, I'm a big fan of her portrait. And maybe it's different on camera. I've seen a lot of people with negative comments, but I think the sculpt overall is a 5 out of 5 as well, which is very much expected when you pay this much for a statue. So she retailed for $2,000. I picked her up for about $2,400 from Spec Fiction. I absolutely love Todd. Todd is fantastic. I don't get paid anything for saying that. I do have an affiliate link in the description below where you can use the code EXTREME and get like $10 off. So check that out. But for a 1/3 scale, $2,400 is a lot of money, or even $2,000 is. You know, years ago they were $700, $800 each. Now, the reason this is so expensive because of the rooted hair and the silicone skin, and because they can charge what people will buy, and we stupid people keep buying it. Now, they made either 600 or 800. I don't remember. I don't want to pick up the bottom of it, and I could go upstairs and look, but I'm lazy as fuck. So it's either 600 or 800, and for the record, I did look it up online. I couldn't find it online. I think it was 800. So there is a big edition size for this for a secondary character in the last leg of a trilogy. So I think that's kind of a negative. Now, Prime 1 Studio did come out with one of these, but she's just not that popular of a character, and for the record, this blows away Prime 1 Studio. in a way that you would want Anne Hathaway to blow one away. Sorry, I almost made it through the entire thing without a sexual joke. I mean, we knew that if we waited long enough, it would come.
That's what she said!
So the value, I think, is a 3 out of 5 on this. You know, for a few different reasons. One, they don't have Bane, who would probably be a character people would want more. Now, I do own Prime 1 Studios Bane, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So she's going to pair right below him on the shelf, actually. And right next to Queen Studios, Christian Bale Batman. If you want to see what that looks like, check out the Extreme channel, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the social media. The link for those is in the description below. Now, I would like to give this a 3 out of 5 on value, but it sells for more than retail, so I really can't do that. So while I personally think it's a 3 out of 5 value, objectively looking at the fact that it's hard to get and you have to pay over retail for it, I think it's a 4 out of 5 when it comes to value. It seems like all of the JND pieces have been like that. Now, does she have the X factor? Is she a 5 out of 5 statue? I'm a lot less tied to her than I am to Wonder Woman, although I wouldn't mind being tied to either of them. But I do think this is a 5 out of 5 statue despite the flaws we talked about. I really like it. I think it's really impressive. I think JND Studios knocked it out of the park. I am a big fan for sure, and I will continue to buy their products, so I can't wait to see what other releases they have. Throw down in the comments below, what's been your favorite JND Studio release? If you don't know what they are, then do you like this or Wonder Woman better? Because hopefully you've watched both of those. But I appreciate you guys watching. Again, a comment will enter you into a statue giveaway, so make sure to do that. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you watching. Please hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds of your time, and it helps me a ton. I appreciate it. I'm going to drink some more beer. Take care. Maybe that's why I love it so much. Beer goggles.